Un periodista, un actor y un creativo publicitario que se han visto unidos por un objetivo común, la defensa de la biodiversidad y la lucha por un desarrollo sostenible. Se trata del periodista y productor Boaz Paldi, actual director creativo global del Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo. Del actor Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, el famoso Jaime Lannister de Juego de Tronos, y hoy embajador de buena voluntad de este mismo programa, y el creativo publicitario Paco Conde, fundador y director creativo de Activista. A los tres los une ese interés por actuar para transformar, y van a hablar sobre el proyecto que les une y a demostrar la fuerza de una herramienta como la comunicación para crear conciencia. Con ustedes, poder crear conciencia con Boaz Paldi, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau y Paco Conde.
Buenos días. Buenas tardes. That's it? Oh, buenas tardes. Okay. It's all good. All right. Hello, everyone. First of all, I wanted to thank you on behalf of the Club de Creativos and all these people for accepting the invitation, being here with us in this beautiful city. I know you are very, very busy people, and Spain is far away, so thank you very much. For me, like a person, it's such an honor, like a sharing the stage with you. Thank you. So the video introduced us as a journalist, was an actor, you're a writer as well, director, activist, ambassador, and a creative. We come from different fields and backgrounds, but we have something in common, which is we love our planet. And also the people who live in the planet. It's not just the globe, it is not just this beautiful planet, but also the people. And the fact that we are using our jobs, our talent, our creativity, our careers and platforms to fight against climate change. So first, Boaz, tell us about the UNDP and your work there.
Sure, thanks so much, Paco. It's such a pleasure to be here. I fell in love with San Sebastian. I think I'm going to move here. I work for the United Nations Development Program. It's the largest UN agency. Our main mandate has been to fight inequality all over the world, to fight against poverty. But then that takes many ways to work on that. So we want to try and reduce the poverty around the world. At least many people in the world are still living in extreme poverty. More than 2 billion people are living in less than $2.5 per day. Just imagine that. But about 10 years ago, my organization took a little bit of a turn. We saw that without addressing the elephant in the room, there is no point in addressing anything else. So we pivoted towards really working very intensely on climate change, on climate mitigation, climate adaptation, and doing a lot of different programs around the world to address the climate emergency. We have a very large portfolio. It includes mitigation, it includes adaptation, it includes advocacy, and really we feel that this is perhaps the most important thing that we can do right now is address the climate emergency. Except for that, we have offices all over the world, 170 offices in many countries. We have about 6,000 projects that are active every single day, with about staffing of about 40,000 people who are dedicating their lives to help communities around the world to have a better life. I'm from headquarters. I just talk about it. They actually do the work. But it's really quite incredible when you think about it. So that's more or less the me and UNDP.
Good. Nikolaj, how did you become a UNDP Goodwill Ambassador? How and why?
Well, they asked me. That was the first thing. And the why is because I was on Game of Thrones, which was a global hit, very successful, and I understood that that is a value that could be used for something good. I believe in the UN. I believe that we are stronger together. I believe that the challenges we face globally demand global action, that we all come together. And then, so I was very happy to become a global ambassador. And then I've been traveling around the world, and I've just been so inspired by seeing the incredible work by human beings all over, for the communities, for all of us. And then there's some stories that I didn't know, because sometimes we focus on all the horror stories in the news. But actually, if you look at the 17 development goals for 2030, ending poverty, better education, gender equality, and all these things, we're doing so much better. On basically every parameter, we're doing better globally than we did 20 years ago. But then, of course, as Boaz said, there's one thing that is kind of the unfortunate joker. The devil holds the joker, and that's climate change. So we have to address that. That is the most urgent thing we all face, which is where you come into it, this campaign.
Yeah, actually that's another thing that we have in common. We work together for the Don't Choose Extinction campaign that we launched some months ago. It's like 8 years ago, right? But
October 27th,
yeah,
2021.
And it was great. I mean, the core group was like a few people, but we became like a large, like over 100 people across the world working for this campaign. And it was like a roller coaster, amazing, unforgettable experience. Actually, let's play the video just to give you like some context of the campaign, and let's talk about our learnings, our experience, and why did we decide this moment to the UNDP to talk about and tackle for the first time climate change. Can we play the video, please?
Do we expect phasing out of fossil fuels and subsidies to make it into the final deal?
Subsidizing fossil fuel use these days is almost the definition of madness.
In 26 years of climate conferences, fossil fuel subsidies have never been on the negotiating table. To help put it on the COP26 agenda, we brought in an expert.
At least we had an asteroid. What's your excuse? Imagine if we had spent hundreds of billions per year subsidizing giant meteors. That's what you're doing right now.
You're not used to seeing these characters walk up to the podium.
And in fact, I didn't know that. I don't think many people knew that we are subsidizing the fossil fuel industry with 425.
To engage the whole world, we built a network of supporters. Recorded the speech in 58 languages and turned Don't Choose Extinction into a world rallying cry.
We are at the climate strike, but we're actually marching with Frankie the Dino.
The campaign directs to a digital ecosystem that visualizes most common excuses as asteroids, providing relevant facts and tools to arm the world's silent majority to take urgent climate action and spur global behavior change, including the first of its kind global collective intelligence platform that shares what citizens think about the climate emergency with policymakers.
People can provide data, they can pass that information on to politicians.
Gathered in Glasgow got the message.
It is time to do the right thing. In the words of Frankie the dinosaur who addressed the General Assembly, let us not choose extinction.
Phasing out fossil fuel subsidies and decarbonizing our economies is now officially on the global agenda, ensuring its inclusion in all future negotiations.
So I remember that you guys called it. It was an amazing call. Obviously, we're a small agency, and suddenly the UNDP called us. Hey, we want you guys to get involved in this campaign. It's going to be our largest campaign, tackling. It's our first time actually that we are tackling. We are speaking out about climate change. We were very excited, but we were very scared because you guys are like a neutral organization, and if you are going to speak out about climate change, it's like we have like a big problem here. tell us a little bit about why that moment. It was, the middle of the pandemic, like the moment of the recovery of the economies.
Absolutely. So we were looking at how to talk about a very difficult issue, difficult to understand, a little bit dense, a little bit complicated, and we were looking at a time in the world where it was almost like, from the Matrix, blue pill, red pill moment. Countries could decide to rebuild back from the COVID pandemic in the same way that they were before, and that would be red pill. They would just go back to normal. That would essentially be pretty bad for the planet, pretty bad for humanity. Or they could choose a blue pill, and they could do something different, and build up greener, try and have a green transition, try and move towards a sustainable energy sources. And so we thought the moment was extremely important. The message was extremely important, and so that's why we chose that particular time to really speak out for the climate emergency, to get everyone on board. UNDP is not a advocacy organization generally. This was our first big global campaign that we ran, so we were learning as we went along. We are very thankful to have ActivistaLA on board to help us through this issue. I remember the first call that I had with you, Paco, and with Beto, and you really kind of understood what we needed to do. And then, as you said, we built an incredible team of collaborators around the world, and just really, it was a wild and fantastic run.
Yeah, including some people from Spain, actually.
We have fantastic collaboration from Spain. Freelance 4, who I know is in the audience today. Big shout out, they did an amazing job in helping us with the production. Framestore did the animation. And then we had collaborators like Nikolaj, who lent their voice to the dinosaur in 58 languages around the world. That was really incredible. We had Wyndham and Thompson out of Australia creating the digital ecosystem. And we had Global Mindful, which is the collective intelligence that we build for people to take action.
Yeah, I think for agencies, I think I remember in London someone told me a great client we had there said, best clients are those who have sensibility to recognize creativity and don't care about taking any risk, even leaving, losing their jobs. I think you took all the risks. I remember you were about to lose your job several times because it was so difficult to get the permissions and so many things that it was amazing as a client. But also, I think it's important to, all of us that we work with, clients, organizations, the simplicity of the brief. I remember, and this is something that you said on the CNN, right, about we always looking for what's our enemy, and climate change is such a complex topic that you don't know. It's sometimes, hey, how can we approach this? What are the first steps? And you gave us something very simple, is fossil fuel subsidies. And you said you didn't know anything about this.
No, I don't think, did you know about it?
No.
Which is also crazy because it's $500 billion that we spend, that we give to the fossil fuel industry. And we know that the biggest threat to climate change is, I think, 75–80% of the CO2 emissions comes from the burning of fossil fuels. So it's absurd. And it goes back to the 70s. Back in the 70s, there was a big energy crisis. That's when the subsidies were introduced. And then, of course, they were never taken away. And we could spend that money, $500 billion a year. We could really do some good with that money.
We could do some really good stuff with that money. So if you have $425 billion, which was what was spent last year, this year is going to be $600 billion that are going to be spent on subsidies. Imagine what you could do with that money. Imagine if you took it away from subsidizing fossil fuels, and 80% of those subsidies go to the manufacturers, and you used it for social impact. You used it to create green jobs, or you used it to have some kind of universal basic income, or you used it for girls' education. There's so much positivity that you can do with it, and yet we continue to pay this, and it's like a deficit. It's like we are in the red for $600 billion this year. Any climate progress that we make any impact that we try and have, we're still $600 billion in the red. So it's an absolute imperative that we solve this issue. But it's a complicated issue. And what was great about it is that through the collaboration with Paco, with Beto, with all of our collaborators, with Nikolaj, we were able to translate that complicated message into a simple message from our friend Frankie the Dino.
Yeah, I think that's, well, 50-50, right? 50% of was the brief. It was so simple, so clean, right? That for us was kind of easy. And this idea of we are subsidizing our own demands is insane, right? We are paying the industry that is killing not the planet, because the planet is going to survive, but us. And we are paying for it with our taxes, with our saving. That was made me almost cry crazy about it. And that's why we thought about, hey, let's bring an outsider, right, to show us how absurd we humans are with this idea. So I remember the first thought we had is, hey, let's bring an alien, okay? Imagine if an alien lands on our planet tomorrow, and the creators start like seeing and reading about us, and notices that we are, you know, like a paying to finance our own demise. You know, it's absurd. So we thought then it's, hey, maybe it's not an alien, maybe it's a dinosaur. And that's the good thing about the dinosaurs. They are part of pop culture, right? And something about climate change is the movement, the climate movement started as like a minority, like you have climate activists and like just a few people taking care and fighting for it. And now it's about, you know, everyone. We really need to make climate change mainstream. And all of us, I think, regardless of our skills, background, careers, we really need to do what's the best thing we do it, use it to address, to fight climate change.
And I also think that you use, like, in this movie, the fact that it has a sense of humor.
Exactly.
Is very much lacking in all these discussions because they're so, you know, it's the doomsday scenarios. There's not a lot of laughter. I mean, Greta Thunberg is incredible, but there's not a lot of jokes coming out, which is absolutely fine. But I think that this translated so well because it was okay to laugh at it, because it is absurd. It is absurd that we're so smart, we're so clever, we all agree that we are the smartest people in the room. Especially here, you're all creatives. I'm sure there's a lot of big egos here. And but at the same time, we're not. I mean, what we human beings have created in the last 100 years is insane. I mean, but at the same time, we're also killing ourselves and our children and our children's children, which we must be able to do better.
And also, well, the entertainment industry as well, it's like watching movies like Don't Look Up, for instance, or Dinosaur, like the fact that you and other actors are being part of this movement is super important, right? It's because you guys, Boaz always said, like we creatives or organizations, we need to tell people, hey, don't do this or do that, or like raise awareness about something. Maybe we won't be able to reach so many people as you. You have a voice, you have an audience. And I think the combination, right, of creativity, entertainment industry, organizations, is when you really, because it's all about that, right? It's about reaching.
It's about creating the narrative, and also I think that it's only about time that something like this happens, because, let's face it, I don't know, the ad budget for the fossil fuel industry, I'm sure it's pretty big. The auto industry, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have those clients, and that's fine, you have to make a living. But, you know, there is a way to tell stories, and telling stories is what connects all of us. We love telling stories. But we also would like, I'm sure we would all like to tell the story when we are old, and we're talking to our grandchildren that have a great story. This is what happened in the 20s. We actually managed to change the curve. Everything was looking really bad, but we did something good. I don't think we want to sit there with our grandchildren saying, sorry, we fucked up.
So guys, let's be part of the solution instead of the issue. Nikolaj, tell us a little bit, because this is the Danish, or both, the Danish connection. It's Vic, one of the guys who featured the case study. You created this amazing ecosystem, especially Mindful. Tell us a little bit about Mindful.
Well, it's basically the idea is that again, the same thing. We are strong individually, we're strong, but together we are much stronger. And using people's intuition, like to be able to access collectively what we imagine will happen in the future and transfer that. So asking people, what do you think will happen, will give you a very, very valuable tool to pass on to the politicians, the policymakers, to understand what actually goes on in the population. And when you go into the global mind pool, globalmindpool.com or don'tchooseextinction.com, you will be asked to give a lot of input, and that input is being used. So it's a way of engaging people. Again, there's nothing worse than being frightened or inactive. As soon as we take action, you feel like you're contributing. Everything becomes easier. It's always about taking that first step. It's just it works, and it's a great platform that they created for this campaign.
I think one of the issues that we face with climate change is that there is a disconnect between policymakers, the people who actually make energy policy, and us, the public. And so what we're trying to do is bridge that gap. We want to be able to bring to policymakers through our networks, through UNDP's networks around the world, what people feel, what they think, what could work, what couldn't work. Would they expect a basic universal basic income instead of subsidies for fossil fuels? Would they like to put this money in girls' education? These are all questions that this incredible platform asks, and that knowledge is then transferred to those policymakers through our networks. So it's a great call to action because it really lets people to be empowered to take action on climate change. For a long time, we were always led to believe that it's our fault. Stop eating steak, only eat salads. Change the light bulbs. Buy electric cars. Consume less. And it's true. All of those choices are very, very important choices. But as Nikolaj said, a huge percentage, I think it's 73% of the energy of the problem with climate change is the burning of fossil fuels, and that's energy. Most of that is energy. So we need to change that. I can't tell for us to stop using fossil fuels. The policymakers need to make those choices, but we can influence that.
Tell us a little bit about the results of the campaign. What did you expect? What was planned? What was a surprise?
So, we are very surprised by how successful the campaign has been. We designed it to go viral. If you can I'm speaking to a room full of creatives, so it's hard to say that even because that's, we all know that's very, very, very difficult. But that's what we were intending to do. But then it went viral, and it was a big surprise. There's anecdotal data that we received that was incredible. I have a colleague that used to work with me. She's from Saudi Arabia. She was in Saudi Arabia at the time, and she called me on day 4 of the campaign, and she said, is this dinosaur campaign anything to do with you? And I said, yeah. And she said, it's gone viral in Saudi Arabia. The place where we didn't expect it to go viral at all, because they rely on fossil fuels for everything. We had the same thing happen in India, in Brazil. It just really kind of went viral in a very, very big way. We now have 1.65 billion views of the film, actual people watching the film. In China alone, we have 800 billion people who watch the film. 800 million. So it's really like the numbers are really, really fantastic. But also we launched it just before COP26, the COP in Glasgow, the climate negotiations in Glasgow. And for many, many years, as you saw in the film, fossil fuel subsidy reform wasn't even on the agenda. No one was speaking about it. And we launched it and it became a rallying cry for this issue, for the issue of moving away from fossil fuel subsidies and from fossil fuels. And we managed to get it on the agenda. We managed to, now it's part of the COP agenda, it's part of the negotiations moving forward. And that's the biggest surprise that we had, because we really didn't expect that at all. We're very, very pleased with it. But we need to continue on, there's a long way to go.
There's one thing I was thinking about before you said you asked me about the global mind pool, the fact, I think what you see when you get data and what people from all over the world are saying, I think our politicians, our leaders, underestimate us. I think they think we are so afraid of change that even if they did the right thing, they would be voted out. You know, I mean, there's a fear of that, right? But I think that if you ask most people, most of us, would you rather have a future, or would you be okay with paying, 50 cents more for petrol? Most people say, of course I'd pay more. But of course, it's not nice to pay more. The prices are going up. None of us likes it. But the thing is, we need to be able to. This is a great tool to let the powers that be know that change is what we want.
It's a lot of knowledge, and also I think you said that was most of the brands, organizations, they treat us as consumers, right? And they put the pressure on us. It's our fault, and that's why we feel guilty. Probably, I feel guilty, right? I need to recycle more. I need to drive an electric car, but it's not our fault. It's the fault of our government. We need to treat people like citizens, not consumers. And we have two very powerful tools. One is our voice, and two, our votes. We are going to put people in power, or we are going to keep them out. And I think Mindpool and that all this ecosystem that you guys design is very interesting. And also it's the way we think when we talk to people. For me, consumers is the worst word. I hate when I go to a meeting and people are talking about consumers. Even my partner says I don't that. And I feel like, oh, come on, don't say that. We are citizens, we are people, we are humans. So we have the Spanish creative community here, right? This is about creativity, this is about poder crear. Can creativity help save our planet or ourselves? What would you say to all these people who are like a super talented, very creative, and have the power to influence and help like a behavioral change, like a create behavioral change campaigns here in Spain? What would you say to them?
I would say get involved. Get involved in whatever way you can. Any climate action is good climate action. If you want to change your light bulbs to long-lasting light bulbs, and that's all you want to do, that's great. But we need you. We need the power of creativity to reach more people, to bring a larger audience to the table, to reach. There's the 10% of the people that believe that climate change is a Chinese conspiracy. I don't think we're going to reach them. There is the very strong climate activists. We don't need to reach them. They're already doing their work. The rest of us, the 80% in the middle, is we call it the silent majority. And these are people that probably know about climate change, but they're not taking action yet. We need to reach those people. And through creativity, through the power of media, through the power of bright ideas, through the power of humor, we can reach those people. And then those people will become part of the solution. And really, as Nikolaj said, when we put our minds to solving a problem, we're going to solve it. So it's a call to action. All of us can get involved in whatever way we can, but we definitely need the creative community. We are open for business with the creative community. We've had an incredible collaboration with Activista, with Wunderman Thompson, with Freelance 4, with Mindpool. Many bits of the puzzle were really helped us reach 1.65 billion people, and that's for us that's a big deal. I know that many campaigns around the world reach more people, but for the United Nations, we need support. We can't do this alone. The governments can't do this alone. The NGOs can't do this alone. Civil society can't do this alone. All of us have to work together.
Nobody's the same, but also I imagine that for anyone here who's been doing advertising for the last 20, 30 years, that there is a change. I mean, that is part of and I think if you can think it into the campaigns, if there's ways to get the messages in there, do it. And then of course also for all the companies, use that incredible intelligence you have in storytelling to maybe help, campaigns of organizations like the UNDP, like all the NGOs out there. Because you know, I do believe that the vast majority of people want the same thing. We would like the planet to stay healthy.
Great, thank you. We have just a few minutes left. Do you have time for any questions? Guys, any questions? Do you have mics somewhere, probably? Any question for this amazing gentleman? See anyone? No? We're good? Questions? Okay, so thank you very much, Boaz and Nikolaj.